What's going on with y'all, man? Y'all see the thumbnail, y'all see the title, man. We're going over the linebackers for the New York Giants. Possibly a top two unit on this team altogether. We know the defense is definitely way ahead compared to the offense, but this linebacker core is exciting. It's young, and I'm interested to see what happens this upcoming season. It was definitely one of the strongest suits last season, so I'm interested to see where we level up on there or possibly stay the same. PFF loves to see what the Giants did at the linebacker core last year, and I think for all of us fans, I think we can agree it was fresh to see what we saw last year. Now we're gonna dive straight into it, and we'll do some groundskeeping at the end. So stay tuned for that. And if you're new to the channel, man, subscribe down below. We got a lot more Giants content coming through. As you know, Hard Knocks is coming up. At the day of this recording, it is tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, man. I'll be having a live stream on Wednesday, and I'll be posting a video that same night reacting to what happened, man. But let's dive straight into it. Linebacker core. Top name when it comes to the Giants is Bobby Okereke. Bobby Okereke was a free agent the previous season, and we picked him up in the offseason, and he was a godsend for this New York Giants team, for sure. Bobby Okereke stabilized this position overall, and that's something that I was banking on. Now, if you've been with me for a little while, when we did my free agency preview the previous season, I spoke on getting Bobby Okereke, trying to get an inside linebacker that's going to be, a stable force in the middle, because the last couple of years we haven't had that. For the Giants, we know the linebackers have been, subpar for years on years. Other than that short time with Blake Martinez, and Blake Martinez didn't play the way Bobby Okereke just did, we didn't really have a good linebacker. And that was something that I wanted to key in on because I felt like it's been years on years since we had one. And Bobby Okereke stepped up and did exactly that. Combined for over 100 tackles. He had 92 solo tackles, which is seventh when it comes to all linebackers. And something that you want to see out of your linebackers is, one, stopping the run, playing sideline to sideline. And I feel like we haven't had, a linebacker that was able to do that for a while. Bobby Okereke was doing that, fitting the holes properly. This D-line for the Giants has been pretty good for the past couple years. You got guys like Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, and really just plugging their holes. You need linebackers to fill those holes as well. And we used to get gashed by the run. Now, last year we did have a couple run-ins with that as well, but I feel like as the season progressed, you saw Bobby Okereke stand up and ultimately just changed his defense. Not only is he a leader, not only is, he's the right type of vibe you want, a smart linebacker that you want, but he was making flashy plays that honestly I didn't expect. He had 2 interceptions on the season. You saw a lot of deflections out of him in coverage. I didn't expect him to be that good in coverage, and he was. He did step up, and you see, you think about the play where he tipped the ball, and Michael McFarland came down with it and got an interception. He's been good. He's been more than good in terms of coverage. Now, Bobby Okereke, the best game I could tell you, if you want to turn on the tape and say, hey, what game should I watch to see what Bobby Okereke did last year? Turn on that Sunday night or Monday night game against the Bills. I can't remember if it was Sunday night or Monday night, but that game right there with the national media everywhere, primetime game, Bobby Okereke stood up and played one of his best games. Not only did he force that tip to get an interception, you saw a fourth down stop in one of those possessions as well. That goal line sequence, great. Love to see it. Bobby Okereke once again was a godsend for this unit, and not only does he perform well for himself, but he really gets guys to rally around him and play with that intensity, and you love to see it. One of the leaders last year, he's going to be a leader this upcoming year as well. And there's a couple of questionable signings, a couple of questionable trades, a couple of questionable guys on this team overall. But Bobby Okereke got to be a star when you look at what type of free agents we picked up with Joe Shane. Bobby Okereke did his thing. I'm excited to see what he can do in year 2. Now, he is moving into a different defense, but I think it probably will suit him a little bit better. I was wondering how he's going to fit in Wink Martindale's defense when they like to blitz a lot. And Bobby Okereke, listen, I mean, he's still a great linebacker, and he did have 2.5 sacks last year. But when it comes down to, being the blitzing linebacker, I just think I love playing him where he's at. I think he did great in his role last year, but I think he could be even better in Shane Bowen's defense. And now I'm glad that we don't have to sleep on any of our players. We can obviously look at a couple of them. Bobby Okereke, through PFF, was ranked top 10 in the league at his position. You love to see it. There's a couple of different position groups on this team that you look at, and we have top 10 players at their position. When you look at Andrew Thomas, when you look at Dexter Lawrence, and now we have an inside linebacker in Bobby Okereke. I love to see it, man. I'm excited to see what Bobby Okereke does this upcoming season. Now, when you look at the tandem, it's Bobby Okereke and it's Micah McFadden. Micah McFadden stepped up big time last year, and now he did have some some faulty plays that leaves some to be desired. But overall, Mikey McFadden did step up, and obviously this is his second year in this team, second year on the system. You wasn't too sure who was going to be playing alongside Bobby Okereke. We did sign Isaiah Simmons, which we'll talk about him in a second. But Mikey McFadden was the main guy that got run next to Bobby Okereke, and he made the most of it, man. Last year, posting 63 solo tackles, a sack, and an interception. But when you look at how he was playing, I feel like when it comes down to, what was going on with Bobby Okereke and Mikey McFadden was a guy that was coming downhill, and he was stopping a lot of the run plays that did happen. Now, he did miss a couple of tackles, and even if he made those tackles, you really would have felt like Mikey McFadden should have been one of the All-Pros. Once again, when you look at what this Giants team lacked, I felt they lacked speed at the linebacker position, and guys were straight up missing tackles. Like, remember, guys, we had Jalen Smith on this team 2 years ago playing linebacker. Let's not forget that. So Mikey McFadden stepping in was fresh. And once again, man, if he makes some of those tackles, we're probably talking about him being, top 15, top 20 linebackers at his position, and having a top 10 guy and a top 20 guy, you'd love to see it. I feel like the biggest opportunity with Mikey McFadden is definitely, making up on those tackles. There was a couple missed tackles that happened. And once again, if you miss a tackle, now the guy's one-on-one with the safety. Hopefully he doesn't beat the safety. There was a couple games last year that we did get gashed by the run, and you could look at a couple missed tackles by a guy like Mikey McFadden. But I'm not going to be here talking about all of his negatives because, once again, the positives that he brought to this team, I didn't expect him to take that next step. I'm going to be honest. He was a later round linebacker that we picked. He wasn't an early first, second, or third rounder. But still love to see the impact that he was able to make. And once again, possibly making another step in year 3. I'm excited to see what can happen with Mikey McFadden. And once again, when you look at who's going to be really with Bobby Okereke, I think he's the perfect yin to his yang, man. I think Mikey McFadden, the way he played last year and the way they played as a unit, there's not really too much I can say that I would want another linebacker to step up in his role. Not really. In terms of coverage, once again, I don't think we have the best coverage linebackers when it comes to that position, unless you bring in Isaiah Simmons, and obviously his speed matches up well. But I'm excited to see what they're going to do in terms of putting these guys in the right position to cover these guys. Obviously they're mainly in charge of the intermediate, probably the flats a little bit. But once again, Mikey McFadden coming full speed downhill, that's what you love to see. You've seen great plays on Christian McCaffrey. You've seen other great plays that happened last year. And once again, man, it was a pleasant surprise because we were looking at possibly Darren Beavers being one of those linebackers, and he didn't even make the roster. So that just shows where we were at with the linebacker too. And I think we can safely say that Mikey McFadden is our second linebacker, and hopefully it's for the near future because, once again, I want to keep this young core together. Bobby Okereke is a little older than Mikey McFadden, but I want to see if we can pay our own guys and keep them in-house. Mikey McFadden might be that guy. And now, the wild card that was last year, Isaiah Simmons was brought in last year, and he was, once again, the addition I didn't expect to happen. We traded for him. I didn't really expect us to go ahead and get Isaiah Simmons. And keep in mind, he's a guy that we wanted to draft a couple of years ago in the draft. We wanted to pick Isaiah Simmons. I was on that bandwagon. And he hasn't really flourished into what we thought he could have been. Obviously, he was known as a safety / linebacker, or you can play him anywhere you want because he can play everything. And I feel like in the Cardinals, he was a little misutilized. And last year, he was put on display. Last year, in Wink Martindale's system, as you know, we like to blitz a lot. Isaiah Simmons was a perfect guy for that because you can see him line up at linebacker and blitz. You can see him line up at edge rusher. You can see him line up, come off the nickel. That's exciting to see with Isaiah Simmons. And, in the little snapshot that we saw on Hard Knocks, Shane Bowen let everybody know that they want to use Isaiah Simmons as like a nickelback. He's going to be guarding in the slot a little bit, playing there, and then potentially, once again, moving around. I did notice something, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I know Isaiah Simmons has always been a safety / linebacker, but this year specifically on the Giants roster, they have him listed as a safety / linebacker. I don't know, if you guys can let me know. I didn't really pay attention to it these past couple of years, but they have him listed as that, and I feel like it just says another thing to have him listed on the roster as a safety / linebacker, because we all know he spent majority of the time in the NFL as a linebacker. Now, once again, last year he did put up a couple sacks. He was mainly utilized in specific plays and specific junctures of the game. And once again, he's mainly there to cause havoc or potentially bluff and drop back in coverage. Isaiah Simmons this year is going to be in a different role, and I didn't think they were going to bring him back. I really didn't. But them not using him as an inside linebacker makes sense why he could fit on this roster now. If you're going to go ahead and play him in nickel in certain sub packages, I think that's going to help. Obviously, you want his speed. I do feel like, once again, He's a big, tall athlete, but sometimes I can get a little messy. And when it comes to, making some tackles, you've seen some missed tackles out of Isaiah Simmons as well. It happens with everyone, but I feel like it happens more often than not with Isaiah Simmons. You have the speed, you have the potential. You need to close out on these guys and really bring them to the dirt. And I feel like sometimes he was missing last year. You could probably see him on the field in certain packages this upcoming season, and they brought him back for a reason because they didn't have to. They made the trade. It wasn't a super high value draft pick when they traded it, so they didn't really have to bring Isaiah Simmons back, and they did. So once again, I'm excited to see what happens. Biggest play you think about last year was one of those sacks against Matthew Stafford. Everyone completely whiffed on him, and the speed that he has to get to the quarterback, you love to see it. Package that up with the front four that we're gonna have. And obviously, once again, the two linebackers that are going to be, stabilizing back there. Him playing the nickel, I'm excited to see how it plays out. And hopefully, he emerges. Because once again, the front four plus our linebacker core really has to pick up the ground when it comes compared to our DBs. Our DBs might be the weakest part of our team. And we're going to be talking about that in the next video or in another video. But the front four and the linebacker core are huge. And I think we do have the right players in place to be able to make up some ground. Hopefully it can overshadow a couple of things, and that's the biggest thing you would want. And when you come to our linebacker core, man, once again, PFF ranks us top 5 with the linebacker core. Top 5. And that's obviously bringing it together. Bobby Okereke, Mikey McFarland, and Isaiah Simmons. Now, some people don't love PFF. I look into PFF for certain things. Finally being recognized in the top 5, which once again, if you go back a couple years ago, we're probably bottom 5 when it comes to that position. You love to see it. I'm glad we have a young core that's actually shutting things down now, and I'm excited to see what we're going to do this upcoming season, man. Once again, some groundskeeping. We got Hard Knocks coming out Tuesday night. I believe it's at 9 p.m. Eastern time, so make sure if you're on the Eastern time, man, stay up, watch that. And if you don't have time to watch it Tuesday night, watch it sometime Wednesday, because Wednesday night we're going to be live on this channel, man, talking about episode 1. Hopefully we see a couple of new things that we haven't seen before, and I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. Haven't been live in a little while, to be honest. So I'm excited to see that. And once again, man, we got more previews coming out. Training camp does take place at the end of this month in July, so love to see it, because once again, football's a little bit closer, and we love that because, listen, it's been dry for these past couple weeks, man. It's been a little bit dry. But once again, man, appreciate y'all for watching this video. I will catch you on the next one. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch y'all Tuesday night and Wednesday night. Stay blessed. Peace.